Welcome to Mind Your Mental Health channel. This will be our 15th episode. In the last episode, you would have learned about the mind, the summary of the mind. In this session, we will be knowing about the mindfulness. Mindfulness is nothing but living in the moment. It is essentially being intentionally aware and awake of what we are doing or engaging at the present moment. The human nature is that we keep on thinking about something or the other. It could be something that has happened in the past, or it could be something that is going to happen in the future. We all would experience that continuous thoughts that goes through our mind. And if you stop for a moment and be aware of what we are doing in our mind at a particular point, we would know that we are not actually being in the present moment. We were just thinking about what happened a few minutes ago or few days ago, or what is going to happen few days after the moment where we are. We may be thinking why we should be aware of the present moment. The research has shown that when we are dwelling more about our past, mostly when we dwell about our past, our experience is that we will be ruminating about something sad that has happened, or hurt that we received, or something traumatic that happened. And when we think about the future, it could be more of something we are anxious about, something we are uncomfortable about, or we are restless about what is going to happen in the future. That is, being worried about or being anxious about the uncertainty. Very rarely we would be aware of not being in the present moment. When we become aware that we are not in the present moment, that itself would be the first step of being mindful. So the practice of mindfulness has been there for thousands of years in some of our prayers, in some of our meditation. In some religions, they integrated this mindfulness meditation in their prayers. Gabat and Thich, a Vietnamese Buddhist, are the two people who integrated the mindfulness in mental well-being as a skill to practice on an everyday basis. And they also brought it to help people who are going through stress or some traumatic events they have experienced in the past. To know more about mindfulness, you need to understand that when we are doing an activity on everyday basis, say for example, we are traveling or we are driving to one place to another, sometimes we will notice that we would have left home after an argument, or we would have left home after reading some message that disturbs us. We will be so preoccupied about those things with which we left home. And while we are driving, we will not be concentrating on what we are seeing while we are driving in the environment, or whom we are seeing, or what the weather looks outside, or how beautiful the flowers on the roadside, or what is happening on the roadside. We will not be aware of that because we are not in that moment experiencing or using our senses or resources to be in the moment. We will be ruminating about what has happened when we left before traveling, or we will be thinking about what is going to happen after we reach that place. So most of the time we would have just traveled from A to B, but that gap from our travel from A to B, we would not be aware of that few moments in our life. If you had seen, say, these tasters in food industry, it could be wine or food, you would have seen how they do the tasting. They uses all their senses. They see the food, or they look at the drink. It could be wine, tea, or whatever it is. Then they smell it. Then they have it in their mouth for a few moments to experience. And after they swallow, they will explain how it is. It would be an example of being mindful of that moment of tasting or eating. So, when we come to mindfulness, it is important that we are living in the moment and accepting what is there in that environment and intentionally pay our attention. It is not paying more attention, it is paying our attention differently, wisely, being in the moment and accepting it as it is without judging. So you would have noticed that I repeatedly used the word being in the moment. So most of the time we are in autopilot. We just mechanically do certain things. These days we are distracted with so many things. It could be our mobile phone, it could be our computer, it could be our television. And while we are eating, we have something or the other switched on and we are distracted. So we don't concentrate on our eating. Say, even if you're having a cup of tea or coffee, you will be having a book, or you will be having a paper in your hand, reading that, and then having sips of coffee. So we would notice that there are times that we don't do any activity just on its own. We are distracted by so many other things in the environment. So actually we will be in an autopilot. We are just in the doing moment. We are not using our body resources or senses to appreciate what is happening at that moment. So there are some researches that has been done in the past where they have asked people whether they were really enjoying or being in the moment, or they are distracted by their thoughts when they are doing some activity. Significant number of people have said that they were not being in the moment even when they are watching television or reading book. They are distracted by their thoughts. So they are not able to concentrate on their activities, what they were doing at that moment. We all would have experienced sometimes that we will be watching television, maybe news or some movie, and some of our friends or family members would come and ask us, what did they say? What is happening? But we will say, oh no, I wasn't really listening to that. But we would not be doing anything else. We would be just staring at the television and we won't be able to answer the other person. So that means we were distracted by our own thoughts and we were not concentrating. Even while we are reading books, sometimes after 3-4 pages, we would go back to read the first page because we lost that continuity or we didn't know what happened, and suddenly we are reading something that is concerning or confusing us. So we would go back to understand what happened in the pages prior to that. So it is natural for our mind to keep on generating thoughts. So some of the thoughts may be relevant to us, some of the thoughts may be illogical or irrelevant. So the functions of the mind is to generate the thoughts. At times we have to let the thoughts pass away like the passing clouds, and not to hold on to the thoughts and ruminating about it and missing out what is happening in the present moment. So it is important for us to be aware of it, that whatever we are doing at the present moment, we have to do it mindfully. We have to be aware of it and not mechanically like an autopilot. Actually, instead of being in the doing mode, try to be in the being mode. Be mindful of what we are doing at the present moment. Focus on it. Concentrate on it. Enjoy the moment. Use all our senses and be in the moment. This mindfulness has been practiced to improve our general mental health well-being. It is also used to help our stress. We all know that stressful situations can impact our mind and body. So people also have used it for certain mental illness like anxiety, stress management, depression, traumatic events that has disturbed our psychological system. So people have used the mindfulness practice for all these things. How do we practice mindfulness? Very many people, when you explain to them about yoga, meditation and mindfulness, they will say that it is very difficult for them to do that because they are so much distracted about their thoughts. They're so much distracted with their own thoughts, they're not able to concentrate on the meditation. Once they close their mind, they think that they get so many thoughts that distracts them and they're not able to concentrate on what they're doing. It is natural. We can't just immediately overnight master meditation, yoga or mindfulness. Usually the experts, what they introduce for the beginners is about breathing techniques or breathing exercise. So we all know that we breathe in and breathe out every second, and we are not aware of that at all. So the simple exercise or the first step of mindfulness, the experts tell us, is that to just do simple breathing exercise, like take in the breath, feel the breath going through your nose, nostrils, your trachea to your lungs, and what happens when you breathe in to your chest and your stomach, and what happens when you breathe out. Close your eyes and do it for a few minutes, and you will realize that this exercise actually makes you be in the moment. So that could be for some people to know or experience what is mindfulness. And you can keep on increasing the time of you doing the breathing exercise. Later on, you can learn more about mindfulness and practice those skills to help your mental health well-being. So it is important for us to notice that mindfulness is not only for people who are having mental health difficulties or mental illness. It is like how we are going to the gym to exercise our body and to be fit physically, to be fit mentally. So how does mindfulness help us? So mindfulness helps us to be in the being mode. It helps us to focus and to avoid us being in the doing mode where we mechanically engage in things. It helps us to be awake and aware of the present moment. So by cultivating ourselves in being mode, we can get out of our thoughts and focus on what we are doing at the present moment. We can learn to let our thoughts pass and not hold on to the thoughts, to dwell on the past or be anxious about the future. We can also experience the present moment using all the body and all our resources, which helps us to enjoy the present moment. And we also learn to accept the present moment as it is and not be judgmental. It is important that we are aware that the mindfulness is not only for, or it is not for people who are having mental difficulties. It is also for our mental health well-being. Mindfulness is a very simple exercise and it helps us in our day-to-day activities. In the next episode, we will be knowing about normal and abnormal aspects of the mind. Thank you.